everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jordan. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, D-Live. I've got out of order. Radio, Walden Radio, and somewhere
Odyssey!
else. Odyssey, thank you. There you go. And various other unimportant platforms. It's because I threw Facebook in there straight away, and I don't know why. They're like the most irrelevant platform of all times.
Right.
This is remarkable. Can we have like one intro that goes well?
Well, yes. Write out the script and stick to it.
Yeah, but that means reading. I can't read, as has been proven.
Well, that's true. Let's say a quick few hellos before we crack on with the very exciting show we've got for you this evening. So we'll say good evening to English Will, Sir Francis. Oh, evening, sensation seekers. That might be the quote for radio there, Sir Francis. Let's say hello.
Evening sensation seekers. This sounds like something out of Brave New World.
It sounds like something out of Smashy and Nicey.
What the hell is Smashy and Nicey? Is this like knockoff Itchy and Scratchy?
It's Paul Whitehouse and
is he Bob Monkhouse brother or something?
No, the loads of money guy. Everyone in the chat will know. They like it's like a spoof of 1970s DJs.
Fair enough.
Must have that's not me reminding us that you'd never heard of Dirty Dancing. Thank you very much. And
no. I had heard of it. I simply misattributed a quote.
Okay. Crypto Shippo, good evening. Good evening, Andrew. This is going so well. Good evening to
it's not just
Mark
us. It's not just us having a meltdown. Mark forgot to change his username.
Okay. Daffyd has a question, actually, straight in there. Look at this. What's going to be the first thing printed and evening?
That is a good question. The first thing printed will probably be something incredibly, incredibly unexciting. It'll probably be the little boat that everybody seems to like to print when doing things with printers. Not sure why they like doing that, but that'll probably be the first thing. If that fails drastically, it may be some parts for the machine. It'll be interesting.
I think, well, obviously,
failed machine printing its own parts.
The initial printing projects are going to be tests, aren't they? So it's probably going to be just anything, really. Just to go through the process, see how the machine works, get a feel for it.
Take anything that works, basically.
Get used to the design, translating the design into something tangible, and building up from there. So probably very basic and getting more complicated as we go.
We have two special hellos, by the way.
Oh, do we?
Yes, both Andrew and Tash over on Odyssey.
Oh,
I see
you. Welcome. Good evening to Will. Good evening, good evening. Yes, so who knows? Maybe that's something we can have a poll on. Maybe once the machine is up and running, we can make a few suggestions on one of the streams and we'll have a vote. And the winner gets to be the first project. Maybe that's the way we can do it.
That could be interesting. We'll see closer to the time.
Absolutely. So anyway, yes, tonight, for those of you who are here, is the 3D printing stream. And Jordan has loads of information he wants to go through with you. So I just read Adam Motter's comment as I was talking. Good evening to you, and good evening, Roy. So yes, Jordan has loads of stuff he wants to go through. He wants to show you how to do it right. So over to you.
First off, we're going to be covering a lesson of failure more than anything else. The failure. Also, before we get going, I do have to apologise. I do have this program on my laptop. For some reason, it isn't working properly. I'll look into that. If I could, this would all be moving around. It wouldn't be on paint, and it wouldn't look as if it was taken via a Nikon Coolpix. I don't know what the hell is going on with these weird jagged edges.
Okay, you ready for this to go on screen?
I thought it already was.
No, it is going up. Oh, look, blank screen.
Is it better now?
Yes.
There we go. Right, now, failure number one. It should have been common sense. Don't actually know why my little brain didn't work properly, but it didn't. Basically, when designing this, I got very carried away with the size of the bed. I was very determined that it was going to be 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters because everything you see is much smaller.
Jordan, for those of us who are not really up to date on the phrasing and the description of things, can you use your mouse to show us which parts you're talking about, please?
You're just in luck. Yes, I can. So the bed is not actually on this picture. Can you see the little black thing dancing around?
Yes.
Good.
So the bed is not the bottom, the base.
Basically, yes. It's not rendered in this because I realised my failure before I added it in. But basically, there should be a... I'm just going to draw this in, actually. There should be a bed around there.
Please don't draw.
Look at the... I'll tell you now.
Oh, God!
Bob Ross ain't got anything on me. Now, that... Hey, look, I won our game of scribbles. The bed ought to be there. The mistake that I made was I decided the size of the frame before looking into the size of the bed. Bed size is it's not terribly important, but they don't come in that size. So I then hunted around and I realised this mistake.
Right.
I then found out a couple of other things. There are different types of beds. There's basically three. There is your bog standard plain aluminium bed. You punch straight onto that, all is good. There is then your heated bed, which is what I was attempting to get. The heated bed comes in two different guises in and of itself. One's called PCB heated beds, and the other, which is basically a silicon mat that sits atop the aluminium sheet. And then you print either directly onto that or onto glass that is placed above it. The PCB bed, for large-scale things like this, which could be doing large projects, not very good because they burn out quite quickly. So it was okay, fair enough, lesson learned there. So I then settled on getting a normal aluminium sheet, which you can get to any size. The problem was, I built this in... Actually, have I built this in such a way? I may have not broken this as badly as I thought. This would act... No, I'm actually a genius. I've not broken this.
Yay! Explain.
Okay, the reason is because these here are on the outside. This is obviously a little confusing. I don't know why I thought I broke this. It's going to work just fine. It doesn't matter. Anyway, this here would have a rod, a very straight rod, as you can tell.
Okay.
This would have a rod going straight down it. And it would attach onto the bed. All I need to do now, basically, is put in a little mount, which I'm going to show you in a moment. I've actually rendered the next version out properly. This would work just fine.
You can't keep drawing this.
What do you mean? This is working wonders.
It looks like 2 bits of string.
He's having a good time. At least I can't see him.
I don't know. Chat, what do we think? Are we dealing with the next Tony Hart? I'm thinking no. Maybe Morph.
What, Inspector Morph?
Oh, God. I have to wonder, we're mental, and people who turn up for these streams are clearly mental too. So enjoy, everyone. Jordan Ross. I will say, Bob Ross does a mean tree skyline. Can you tell what it is yet? No, that's the problem.
You're just jealous. This is your issue. You're just jealous. The worst part is, I'm going to make this slightly worse somehow. I don't know how this is possible.
No,
I'm not using a pen. So I'm not using a mouse to draw. I actually have a little stylus. This is my legitimate attempt at drawing. This is with everything going well for me.
This is the saddest thing. If any of you have ever used MS Paint, and you don't use it a lot, you probably use your mouse to attempt to make something resembling something. Jordan has a pen. And this is the result.
It's going well.
You're very skilled at some things, dear, but drawing is not one of them. Adam's not holding out much hope for the printer. Adam, just be grateful. He's not drawing the printer, thank goodness.
No,
So
thank
we
God
should
for
be
that.
okay.
The printer
Oh.
is not being drawn.
Roy's suggesting it's an uncomfortable tampon applicator.
Actually, to be fair,
Don't do it, ladies.
to be fair, I think this would win that prize.
Oh God.
See, no, look, the first one was actually the first attempt I've ever had at using any sort of CAD software with a genuine attempt at making something. This is now the second. But ignore this line. That is ruining my picture.
Can't you just undo it? Was this your
Yeah,
first attempt at drawing?
To be fair, it may well. But I can't remember if I got an F or D in art when I was 11. I swap between the two depending on what sort of day I'm having. I think I got a D. I think this is going quite well.
It should be a P. Please stop drawing.
Anyway, this is the second attempt. This here, I think, if I was to put this onto the outside of the previous picture you saw, because this here is the stepper motor. Oh, flipping out! I'm in grey.
Let me catch up. Let me catch up while you're doing that. Blumberry
this here is the stepper
English
motor.
Bird, and Adam. Good evening, and Roy. I think I may have mentioned Roy. Sorry, caught up. Carry on.
You did that. There is the stepper motor. That's what's driving it all. That were the weird little lumpy bits on the previous picture.
Right. Okay. Oh, the bits that the pieces of string were hanging from.
Yes, those bits.
Okay.
They were the stepper motors. What I'm thinking is, if I take that now, you can see how that works. This here is the 2020, as they call it. And that will attach onto the outside of the frame because the frame is also 2020.
Right.
Don't save. Go away. I don't want to save, but I thank you very much. These here are the stepper motors.
Right.
So I'm thinking if I just replace that and bolt that other assembly that I had onto the side of it, this frame will actually be just fine, which is a great shame considering I've put in a lot of work on the new frame and I have an update and it will look much, much, much better. I will show you as soon as I find it, which is right now.
Before you do that, I just want to mention, good evening, Space Drone. Oh, no, I take it back because he said Chuck's lemon. Oh, no, that's nice because we do lemons. This is from Daffod. First print got to be a WRT keyring from Whitland to Printing. Good idea. Thank you for that. Keep that one in mind for when we take suggestions for the poll. Okay, so back to the picture.
Back to the meaning of life. Anyway, this here is the new printer, the new design. As you can see, much beefier, much sturdier. This little thing here is my attempted rendition of the extruder itself.
Okay.
Not terribly impressive, but it's just a little lump, but it'll work. It gets the gist across.
And is this the one that will move left and right?
Indeed,
like,
this here is
the
X and Y axis. This part here, and this here is obviously the Z part. That moves it up and down. This here doesn't actually move up and down, and that is to increase speed and stability, allegedly.
Oh, Will has a question.
Oh, yeah.
He says, my big question about building this printer is it like assembling a computer from a few modular parts, or I don't know if he's finishing that, or just hoping you'll fill in the gap?
It is assembling almost all of it from scratch. In terms of... One minute, define from scratch. Like in terms of like a kit or anything like that, no, there is no kit parts here. It is just stuff that I've gone and sourced and found.
Yeah, I mean, the kit suggestion was a very good one with regard to using it as a guide. You know, sort of the order with which you would put the parts together, you know, but obviously common sense would dictate that you build it from the bottom up. But there will be an specific order to adding the parts. English Will says, next on WRT1, Jordan's Wheeler Dealers. There you go. So, yeah, we did look at the kits as a guide, but Jordan's adamant that the process of building it is the point of the whole thing.
Exactly. We want to build it. We want to work out how it works and all the rest of that. So yes, that is the new design.
So, and that plate, is that the base plate you were talking about? Sorry.
In the bed.
The bed, yes.
Yeah, this part here. That's the bed.
Okay, and that would travel up and down. Okay.
As I said, if my program was working on my laptop, which it isn't for some reason, I would be able to go on and show you, and I'll be able to wiggle it around and make everything move. And it would actually be quite impressive. But such is life. In the end, what I haven't added on to this, because I was busy working out various other issues. Because to be honest with you, this part here, the bed, kind of tricky. Having that move up and down, because it's not something that terribly many printers have. And if they do have it, so that is the Z-axis as opposed to the head itself, they don't actually show you how it connects to anything. So I've had to work out a weird little system, and that's what these parts here are. I mean, I do have a picture of those zoomed in. No, do not save. These here are actually quite complicated. And I did model these myself, apart from the plate here, because it was a bit complicated. Not so much that doing it was complicated, but there's lots of holes and they need to line up properly. So I just got the CAD designs from the manufacturer itself. The way this works, underneath this, there is a little... I can zoom in for you. There is an anti-backlash nut, which is a very fancy term for a nut that is under tension and basically pulling downwards against the screw. Backlash is when you have... Actually, that's not a good drawing of it. A backlash is when you have a cog system that has air in it. Because they all need some amount of air, but obviously if you've got a tooth coming into it, you want as little air as possible, because there would be backlash. So this here is a special little nut, and it takes all of that out. So the movement of it will be much more consistent. I now need to work out a way, and I'm just going to do it with the extrusions, where something can sit on top of these, and then connect into the bed. And the bed will basically just be resting on top of it. It will be balancing there.
I hate to break your flow, but I've got another question, or rather a comment, and I want to stay on top of these. So this is from Will. He says, there's no kit for a computer, but it assembles itself without too much room for error. I think what he was asking was, is there a lot more room for error with this, building this from scratch?
Yes. Putting together a computer is relatively easy, so long as you're not... I was going to say being stupid. It isn't actually being stupid. So long as you're not trying to put like a... what's the red company? I want to say Asus. It's not Asus.
The red company? I don't know what you mean.
In the world of processors, there's red and blue. Intel is blue. I can't remember the name of the other bloody ones.
I've only ever heard of Intel and AMD Athlon.
AMD, thank you. I couldn't get that. Well done, thank you, love.
Well done, AMD. Tech boomer.
So long as you're not trying to put an AMD chip onto an Intel motherboard or vice versa, all is good. Effectively.
I can't believe I knew that. I'm so pleased with myself.
You did well. I just couldn't get there. I could see the company's name. I could think Threadripper, and that was it. It was all I was getting.
Roy says a fair point regarding not using the kit, and he says, plus there's no comedy in assembling a kit. Roy's just here for the chuckles, I'm just starting to suspect. Daffyd says, as a technophobe, I would find it easier to build a house or something else easy, compared to this. I suppose if you're not technically minded, those things would seem easier. I mean, building a room, it's 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor. It's pretty self-explanatory. And just catching up on the chat.
These sort of things are fiddly rather than complicated.
I think, is there a conversation we've missed? Roast chicken, says Sir Francis, and custard cream, say Philomena. Someone's got a teapot out. That's what I missed. English Will says it's the sexy fantasy woman. Sexy fantasy women drink tea. Okay.
That's very weird.
By the way, everyone knew it was
I know
AMP.
everybody knew.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get there.
Space Jones says you couldn't fit them anywhere. You couldn't fit them anyway. The pins are different, I think. That was in relation to what you were discussing. I'm sorry it took me a while to get there, but I wanted to mention Will's question.
I thought you could fit them. I suppose the pins would be. I have no idea. I've never tried.
Well, this will be a lot of trial and error.
Oh, this build itself probably will be. There are certain parts I know that I'm not going to be able to do well at the start. I'm actually going to need to get this up and functioning so I can print off a couple of parts, and then that'll help with the stability of it.
Question from Daffyd is, how does the computer thingy tell the printer thingy what to do?
This is something I myself am not terribly sure about. In terms...
Roy knows the answer.
Roy would know the answer.
That's where the string comes in. Yes, the string does it all.
You leave my string alone. In terms of how the actual mechanics of it work, basically, I'm coming back with the string, and I'm getting different color string this time just for show.
Look at you showing off.
Thank you very much. Basically, this will come off. I'm going to put in like a little blob thing here. The way it works is these here are going to be driving some belts. The belts will then loop around this machine in a relatively extravagant way and end up in this sort of weird bloody shape. And as they move back and forth, these will spin. So by these, I mean the stepper motors here will spin around and they do their thing. And that will pull tension on the belt and loosen it off and various things like that. How you drive those are via stepper motors, which we covered briefly in the previous thing. How exactly the computer talks to the stepper motor, I'm not entirely sure. It seems to be quite a straightforward thing. It seems to be quite easy. In large scale, in actual CNC, they use something called G-code. G-code is, frankly, it is an abomination to the eyes. I'm just going to go and grab an example, and you can have a look at the joyous world that is.
While you do that, I want to say good evening to you, Matt. You said you made that in MS Paint. Impressive. Thank you very much.
I did not make that in Paint. I wish I did. It would have been slightly better.
My stepdad's not mean suggested CAD, but you mentioned CAD before, didn't you?
Indeed, it was.
Philomena says, I can see tumbleweed while Jordan is talking tech. Only a
No.
Philomena.
If you think there's tumbleweed while talking tech, get a load of this.
Oh God. Oh God.
That's G-code. Now, I'm not going to explain how G-code works because I don't beyond the very basic idea of it. But basically, you've got your X and Y coordinates here, and you've got your Z coordinates. These are the bits afterwards, like the F, the I, and the J. They relate to the tool itself, I believe. And the G1 or G01, 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 G03, I think they are commands. So that would be, left, right, up, down sort of thing, I believe. That is how CNC machines talk to the cutter. How that talks, I have no idea. Johnny Redpill Seed says you use software that converts a 3D model into that G-code. Fair enough. I would imagine they do use G-code at the base level. I just don't know how. I haven't really looked into that properly yet. I will do that. And I think that could be a relatively... Jesus, Andrew. A relatively interesting stream.
Will is asking if there's time at the end. Can I call in to show off the joystick I modded? I
Yes,
sent Jordan some links and pics. Absolutely, definitely.
you did indeed. Also, I meant to reply to you the other day when Joe asked me about this. For some reason, and I don't know who did this and why, I can't get into my emails. So if you can send me those pictures on Discord, because I don't understand what the hell is going on. I can get into every other account that I've set up. Can't get into that one. It's rather weird.
Roy says this is turning into a pride diagram. Yeah, stop using all the rainbow colours, Jordan.
I
You
use
start to ask
red.
question. People are going to start to ask questions.
I use orange. Orange is a strong colour.
Yeah, thank you for that, Johnny Red Pill Seed. Any suggestions anyone has for any, not shortcuts, but fixes, be gratefully received. Thank you.
What do you mean fixes?
Fixes. If
What do you mean
come across a
fixes?
solution,
What was broken?
if you come across a problem or you don't know the answer to a problem, there's a fix. There's a solution. Jordan wants to scare off the female audience. No. Johnny Red Pill Seed says, I'm going to have to stop saying your whole name. It's weird. I use Ultimaker Cura for that. I don't know what that is, but you might want to make a note of it.
Ultimaker Cura. 1 minute. Powerful, easy to use 3D printing software. That's my sort of thing.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for that, mate.
Matt says, G-code interpreter to control your motors and stuff given the input. This is all very helpful. Thank you.
I'm quite interested. As much as I want to get away from computers, Joe and Andrew and I were talking about this the other night. I very much want to get away from computers. I do find this sort of thing kind of interesting, and I think it's because
there's something tangible at the end, isn't there? Rather than
exactly, there's a physical product to it. There's the physical thing going on. You're actually doing something, moving stuff around, and then you're able to see it in real life. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Johnny also says, I missed the end of yesterday's show as I was walking the dog, but pleased to hear that you're using Mock the Woke. We're not sure where we're going to use it, but we are definitely using it. Thank you so much for that suggestion. Perfect. Thank you, Will. Right, Will's going to resend the email. Not a problem. Yeah, no, the fix. Yeah, fix. It will be interesting, says Andrew, to see how it performs on the benchmarks. I don't even understand that sentence. Anyone? Matt says Cura is excellent.
On the benchmark, I'm a bit confused on that one.
Mr. 262 has the ultimate question. Can it make shortbread, though? It can't, but I can. So
I was about to say, right. Joe can make shortbread. Joe, show us.
What, the shortbread? I don't have pictures of it.
Well, no, not shortbread, but the other thing.
What, the bread?
Yeah.
Without the short?
Well, you're short. You got the short in the shortbread.
Well, that's technically shortbread then. Bread made by a pygmy. That's me.
To be fair, this bread is anything but short. It's excessively tall.
When you say show people the pictures, I think you may have assumed that I uploaded them. I thought you were doing that.
Good God. It's this apprentice of mine, I'll tell you. All right, I'll go do your job for you.
My job?
Your job.
Well, I've got a toilet that needs cleaning if you want my job. Right, Andrew has clarified by saying they have test projects that act as benchmarks that you can see how the printer performs. One that I've seen is a tugboat. Okay,
indeed,
fantastic.
Sorry, I understand what you mean now. Yes, they do like their little boat.
Yes, they look amazing. To be fair, the boats. I mean, even if you're just using them as a test,
they look like really good little toys for kids.
Yes. Roy's asking how low down can an oven go? Well, my oven's on the floor, luckily for me. So, yeah, it's all good. I can reach it. I can reach all of the shelves. And Will said he sent in his pics. Oh, Jordan,
Thank you.
Andrew sent in a link for you there.
Oh, 1 minute. What's going on there? Thingiverse. Oh, there's going to be a picture of the boat. Is it the boat? It is indeed the boat.
And Johnny says overhangs are difficult.
Overhangs are difficult. I did look at dual extruders, but when I started looking into these, people kept saying they're good, they're useful, but they don't use them very often. And that is the little boat,
That's
affectionately known as
cool.
Benji.
That's so cute.
It is. This has actually come out really bloody well, this one. As I said, it's the sort of thing that you'd have had as a kid. I think I actually did have something very similar to this as a kid.
And Will says, I also want to shout out Andrew's made some beautiful leather work and posted pics in the Discord. Check it out. Yes, if you haven't already joined our Discord, there is loads and loads of information there, pictures and descriptions of projects that people have undertaken. Just amazing. But Andrew in particular, with the leather work, has just started from scratch, literally from scratch, never done it before. And the detailing on that work is amazing. Philomena has done the same. She made teeny tiny clothes, and they were just beautiful.
What
Boudica's
was
been
the
making
name of
stuff.
the... I'm asking a question. Philomena, what was the name of the little Time Lord man? Carry on.
Okay.
Is Joe broken?
No, I was just reading the chat. Space Jones says, what kind of pics is Free Gamer sending? And then is suggesting everyone go to his Lonely Fans. That's mean. Yes, Johnny, kudos to the craft folk or crafty folk. We have so many people with skills that I don't think people are very confident, and I do understand that. Doing something for the first time and sharing it with people. I'm about to show you one of my fails.
What do you mean one of your... I had a fail. Your thing
Right, let's
was
put this
not a
up.
fail. Your thing turned out wonderfully. Right, this is how it started.
To be fair, no, that's not a fail. That's before I started dividing it into 3.
Yeah, why did you start this?
Because it actually expands more. It fills the tin much, much more nicely. There's more air. It's lighter, it's softer, it's fluffier. If anyone's just tuning in, we're talking about bread dough. Just in case there's any confusion. So, yes, so I have been trying to perfect bread. A perfect loaf of bread. I'm never going to be able to compete with the kind you buy in the shops because it's full of preservatives and things you can't pronounce. It's steamed, there are factories, it's mass produced, they've got proper proofing rooms and set temperatures and so on. But I was trying to make the best possible loaf of bread I could by hand in my own humble kitchen, because we know that food shortages are coming and we have to start nailing this stuff. We have to, the basics at least. So that was an early attempt. It doesn't look so great, granted. Do you want to put the rest of them up, Jordan?
I can indeed.
Now, the one thing
It got bigger.
The one thing I noticed a problem with was timing, keeping an eye on the timing for proofing. If you overproof dough, of course, it can start to form massive air bubbles. And when they burst, it kind of collapses in on itself like a souffle. But if you keep an eye on the timing for the proofing, then you will be good to go.
I'm having to go out of order.
Oh dear. Tough being an apprentice, isn't it?
Tough having you as a boss.
Oh, here we go. Oh, that's interesting. Andrew says, I think I heard today that they put chalk powder in bread for calcium by law. Haven't confirmed, though. Wouldn't surprise me.
They've been doing that since the war.
I agree.
Tom...
Sorry.
I'm trying to work out how to say this. Tom Zeitgeist is the character's name. That was the answer from Philomena.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, lovey. Don't throw the bread out the window with the keyboard, says Sir Francis.
Don't you worry. Jo has bread that if she did throw, she would actually manage to kill someone. Show it.
Wow.
Look at the size of it.
None of my bread is hard. Right, now this was, I made some dough, and I believe the lie is that if you put it in the fridge, it slows down the proofing process. Not so. So. It's exploding.
It's alive.
So there you go. So again, but I obviously I took too long to put it in the fridge, and it didn't slow it down at all.
What do you mean slow it down? You couldn't slow that down. Look at it.
It was like the blob. It's growing. I took a series of photos of this, and I said to Jordan, "This isn't going to stay in this bowl." He's like, "No, it'd be fine." And I took a series of photos as it grew.
I don't see the issue.
So there you go. So the point is, nobody's perfect, and learning a skill, you may get it wrong a few times before you get it right. But I am so on the way to getting it right. Now, the problem with the next one that Jordan's going to show you is I just let it proof for too long. Proof. Yeah, well, that's what I thought.
My stepdad's not mean to said Jo's compiling an arsenal.
I did see that. Well, you know what this is? I'm so impressed with my frozen baguettes. I got to replicate them. It now pays rent. How dare you? How are you going to kill it? The stuff. That was it. Thank you. Will says, I've had an apple cake that would break your teeth. It was good, but it was supposed to sit in the fridge for a day to soften up. I'm assuming it didn't work.
I'm assuming it didn't soften. I'm assuming it may have hardened.
So this is actually the bread that I was proofing last night while we were streaming. The problem is I had it in a place that I wasn't looking at it, and I kind of forgot about it. So this is one of those Pullman tins. Anyone who's ever baked bread will know what they are. And it's essentially a square tin loaf with a lid that slides on and off.
Joanne has a hatred of normal bread.
No, it's not.
Perfectly square bread, which she then calls sandwich bread.
It's called sandwich bread. You can buy it in the store.
Yeah, it's a perversion of bread.
Anyway, the point is, there was no way I was getting a lid on this. So I just baked it as it was. And it turns out, so I've learned another thing. I was putting too much dough in the tin. 2 hours.
I never noticed.
Hang on, 2 hours more and it's a sofa. I'll tell you something. This finished loaf of bread is so comfortable. You could definitely sit on it.
It looks so big.
It's just incredibly soft and light.
Have you ate it yet?
Eaten. No.
Have you consumed it?
No, I just took the picture like 20 minutes ago.
But so what? You cooked it yesterday and you haven't even had it yet?
Well, I didn't get around to eating it last night. So anyway, so I'm having it this evening. I'm having sandwiches. And yes, so the point is the recipe is amazing. And that is my homemade bread. Thank you, English Bird. English Will says toad bread. Seriously.
You leave that bird alone.
I'm not happy with this. Will likes the poofy top. Sofa bread. This might be a new brand, patent pending, of course. It is homemade, yes, and that's the point. You're never going to compete with store-bought bread. And I think the best thing for anyone to do, which I've learned the hard way, is stop buying store-bought bread. Once you've nailed a basic recipe and it's edible, keep improving the recipe and stop buying the other bread because you will constantly compare the two. It does look nice. Thank you, Will. Yeah, it's genuinely the best recipe I've tried. The bread looks like a row of houses. Thank you, Philomena. That's my next project.
It kind of does.
Yes, it is, Matt. It's a soft, fluffy cloud. Anyway, so there you go. The point is, in all of my years, nobody has ever taught me how to make bread. Nobody. Not my mum, not my dad. My mum wasn't exactly a hands-on teaching kids to cook type person. So it's taken me pretty much all of my life to master bread because it's always been available, and I never made it. I always bought it.
A
So
toast loaf.
so if an idiot like me can make a decent, soft, light, fluffy, tasty loaf of bread, anyone can. I've got a recipe I'm happy to share with you all if you want to give it a try. Although, Daffyd, you've probably got a better recipe than I could ever come up with. It's a community loaf. It could feed Northampton. Well, why pick on them? That's a bit
It's
mean.
remarkable going from that to that.
It's just
It's come along so well.
I read something interesting that genuinely blew my mind. Apparently, if you regularly make bread, there is something to yeast spores or something in the air. The more bread you make, the more yeast develops. Truly blew my mind.
Make more yeast. Simple.
So, well, the more often you bake bread, the better your bread becomes. But that's also the fact that you're practicing. Thank you very
English
much,
bird
Roy.
needs it.
That's a small muffin compared to loaf number 2, says Mr. 216. Well, it is small on purpose because I've been making lots of it and I didn't want to waste too many ingredients. But now I'll get my big square loaf tin, which will blow Jordan's mind.
Ooh.
Yes.
Does it have a lid?
Yes. Of course it does, but it's much longer. English birds, yes, I will put my recipe up on the Discord. And I'd love also for anyone, ladies or gents, who try this recipe, really appreciate it if you could send in your photos. Let us know how it goes. If you encounter any problems, if you have any successes, if you tweak it and make it better. That's what we're here for, is to share our successes and help each other. So, oh, wow. Look, this is high praise indeed. Philomena wants cheese on toast now. I've made you hungry. How long does it last? This is obviously the downside of freshly baked bread. Because it's not full of poison. It lasts, it's super springy on day 1. It's still soft on day 2. I'd say by day 3, it's probably good for toast.
This is the one major advantage of sourdough. It lasts a little bit longer. It's still good on day 4.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, consistency is the hard part because you don't have a dedicated space. This is not a factory or a bakery. So that is the real issue. Proofing the bread, and also ovens vary as well. So when you're told about a temperature, these are things you're going to have to just adjust up and down until you get the right consistency. Some people like their bread with a hard crust. Some people like it soft. Some people like it golden. Some people like it just, part baked. It really is down to you as an individual to adjust it and see how you want it.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say parboiled.
I use active dry yeast, Daffyd. And also, here's a tip about yeast. No matter what the date is on yeast, if you store it in the freezer, it will last forever.
You like that fact, don't you?
I do. Because there's an actual date, a use-by date on yeast, and it's BS. And if you can start buying up things like yeast now... Okay, I'm going to tell you something now. I don't care. Here's another little secret about me. I shop at Tesco. Don't judge me. I have no car at the moment. I have no choice. Tesco is selling packs of yeast for 12 pence a pack. Go and buy a ton of yeast. You can throw it in the freezer and it will last forever. Yes, you can, Roy. You can bake bread in a slow cooker. I've seen loads of recipes for it. I don't know how.
I never knew that.
I didn't look any further. I guess that would be more like steaming it. But yeah, apparently you can. I've never made sourdough. Oh, there you go. Rory's agreeing. Just freeze it, yes. And you can freeze fresh baked bread as well, of course, if you've got the space for it. The reason why I like to make a smaller loaf is because then it gets baked, it gets eaten, then I make another one. I've not used the fresh yeast. I've never tried. Storage space being a premium, I prefer to buy the dried yeast. I can then use as much or as little as I want. So this has become the bread show. I didn't mean to take over this.
No, I enjoy this. This is interesting.
No, I haven't. I'm still saving up. The problem I've got, as we discussed last night, is people with money for new cars are buying second-hand cars, which has pushed the price up. It's also created scarcity. There are fewer cars available to buy. The cars that were within my price range are now out of my price range, which has made me have to rethink the whole thing. And I'm still in the process of saving. So yeah, unless someone wants to throw like £30,000 my way, I'm not buying a brand new car, which means I have to shop around and find a good deal. I'll get there.
Hey, have you not seen the adverts from Dacia? You can get a new car for £6,000.
Really? Well, I don't have £6,000.
Neither do I.
How long does the bread last for? Do you mean how long before it's eaten? Or do you mean how long before it goes off? Because I've answered that.
Let's go with both.
Well, how long before it's eaten depends, doesn't it? That's not a question anyone can answer. How long's a piece of string? But just in case you missed it, it's super light and fluffy day 1. It's still soft and edible on day 2. It's probably good only for toasting by day 3. But if you can make a loaf of bread every couple of days, you've got a constant supply of fresh bread. I haven't tried freezing dough yet, Will. That's my next thing. To be honest, the fridge isn't doing its job. And I'm worried if it expands in the freezer, I don't know what I'm going to find. I'm not getting a Lada, English Will. How dare you? Although
What's wrong with Ladas?
Don't they have VW engines now, Lada?
Wait, they have an engine?
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Yes, they're not Flintstone mobiles. You don't have to power it with foot. And they'll change horsepower to foot power soon for those. Yeah, croutons. Or bread, if you need breadcrumbs for a recipe. I mean, stale bread is perfect for breadcrumbs. So, yeah. There you go. Right, so now we're done with the bread. Does anyone else have any projects they want to share? And of course, remember, this is open mic night. So if anyone else wants to get on the show and talk about things that they're going to do, that they have done, things that have failed, things that have succeeded, then please feel free. We'll drop the link in the chat. All right, just grabbing that now. So if anyone wants to call in and have your say, there is the link. For those of you listening on the radio, of course, sorry, you can't do that, but you can if you jump over to any of the other channels we're on. I've just put the link in the chat there for you, Will.
I mean, did it go on to D Live? Oh, it did.
It went everywhere except Twitter for some reason.
Yeah, it's just Twitter. All is good.
Yes, come on, someone, call in. Don't be shy. You've heard Jordan and myself, obviously. You know that we have no shame left. We have totally humiliated ourselves on the stream.
I redeemed myself today. I worked out the thing I thought was broken isn't actually broken. All I need to do is just put the new assembly on the side, and all is good.
That is true.
So
well done, you.
That.
Well done.
I'm a big brain, apparently.
Well, one of us has to be.
I've evolved.
We need one of us to represent the big brains. So yes, come on then. Let's get some people in and have a chat and talk about... I really want to talk about not just projects that people have done, but things that they are considering doing. And have a chat about those kinds of things. And also, welcome, Jonathan. Nice to see you.
Indeed.
I want to talk about the kind of things that have inspired you over the last year and a half and how you think they may help yourself or your family or your community. It would really be interesting to get someone else's opinion on this and find out what it is we think can really boost our communities and what it is that can help create our communities. When we talk about adding value, how can we as individuals add value? Kind of skills are we thinking about learning? Okay, so we've joined here by Will. Let's everyone say a nice big welcome to Will. Hello.
Evening, Will.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be back.
Oh, it's so good to have you back. How are you?
I have had a wild time up to now. I've been doing a regular stream. I think people are familiar with it. It's on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 4 p.m. UK time.
Fantastic.
Those have been going great. Everything else, though, has been pretty hectic. I hurt my arm about a month or so ago, and just that really threw a lot of things off, and I'm just now finally feeling pretty good.
Wonderful. Will, can you drop a link to your channel in the chat, please, and I'll pop it into the main chat.
I'm gonna try. I may have to drop out of the or maybe I could put it into the private chat here.
Yes,
Yeah, we can do
yes.
that way,
Sorry,
yeah.
that's what I
Okay.
meant. I do apologise. I wasn't clear.
That's fine.
We'll
Thank
get
you
some
very
apology.
much.
Thank you. Right. So, if anyone hasn't followed Will over on DLive yet, here is the link. He's just given you the times for his streams, but of course, if you follow, you'll get a notification and you won't miss another one. So, thank you for that, Will.
You're very welcome. I
oh,
appreciate
look.
the opportunity.
So, Francis says, Will stream is a must listen. There you go. Is this like show and tell? Kind of, Daffodge, yes. If you've got something to say, feel free to jump on.
Thank you very much, Sir Francis. And I can't really see the chat too well, but I see a lot of familiar faces in here. In fact, I want to say 99% of the people who listen to my stream are from this chat, because only these people are patient enough to put up with the technical difficulties that I've been having for the last month.
Joe's got them trained well.
You've got to remember, I'm the tech boomer warm-up act. So if they can put up with me, everyone else is fine.
So it's going to be improving soon, though. Soon it will be improving this upcoming month. And I'm also going to be adding additional platforms for streaming, because DLive is, an acceptable platform. But the way you guys got onto Odyssey, I'm going to be going on there as well soon.
Odyssey is really good. It's the setup is a bit of a pain.
It is, but again, we need to be fair to Odyssey. They've done a hell of a lot in a very short time, and they're getting there. They're constantly making improvements. So we have to give them credit for doing that. They're going up against the big boys who have had an established grip on the market forever. So yeah, good on Odyssey. Doing incredibly well. Yeah,
it's a big deal trying to use these alternative platforms. And as someone who's not done it yet, I'm kind of a bad spokesman. But I think that even though they do have some issues, we need to get away from the globalists as much as possible. Give them as little power over us as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well said. So let's talk about your project, Will. Jordan, do you have the pictures?
I have a picture, yes.
Right, okay.
I do not have the rest.
I can get a picture of the external device as well. I may not have sent one. I sent one of the inside of the outside. Let me break it down to start.
Okay.
The main device is itself a joystick used for playing games. It doesn't have much other use. So if you're looking for something useful, it's other than playing games, it's not too useful. So don't want to get anybody's hopes up with this project. But the actual work itself is useful, doing some electronics. I did have to solder together a wire that I managed to cut by accident. That's right, it's pretty much monkey proof. You just do plug and play. You see all those little plugs in the top. Those you just kind of pull them out, put them back in. What is that, though? That's the inside of a joystick. And those little black circles, those are behind the buttons.
Look at that.
The area on the right, that's where the stick itself goes through the chassis. And the part in the top is the control board. And that was what I swapped out. Or not so much what I swapped out in my case. I guess I did swap it out in my case. But what you really can do is you can add a secondary board that lets you interface with additional devices. Because one of the problems with gaming is, especially if you like to use a console, the devices are not compatible with each other. Since the days of Sega and Nintendo, you can't use your Sega controller in your Nintendo console. Today, it's mostly Xbox, PlayStation, but there's also still Nintendo. There's Mac, there's PC, and then there's a lot of older systems too. Now there's newer ones, the PlayStation 5. There's all these different ones. And you could end up buying controllers for every single one of them, which is really not a cost-effective thing. but you can get a control board, and that's the link that I put in the that I sent to Jordan. It pulls that up. I don't have any pictures directly of that. I didn't want to actually open up the device. These are old pictures I already had from when I did the work originally. You put in a replacement control board or a secondary board, and what that does is that lets it work. It makes it work with every console.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
I mean,
And
we
also
know
improves performance.
they keep bringing out these generations of consoles, and of course, some will be compatible with the last generation, but none of them are cross-compatible. And invariably, every second or third generation, you've got to scrap everything you've got and start again. It's a bit of a scam in that respect. So any way that you can utilize something that will work across the board, that's absolutely fantastic. When you say that's not useful, think of the money people would save by doing this. I think that's incredibly useful.
Well, that's
Think
true.
of the skills gained as well.
Yeah.
You're learning to deal with these sorts of things. Then suddenly you go to like a car boot sale or whatever, garage sale. Somebody has like an old Sega Genesis that's broken. You can buy that, take it apart, work out what's wrong, put it back together, and fix it. Suddenly you've got a working thing, and then you expand out from there. You go from games consoles into, I don't know, like appliances, mixers, and things like that.
That would take a little bit more know-how because that would involve doing capacitors. What's nice about this is, especially if you look at this link here, I'm going to admit it, I use the kit. That's exactly what this link is for. It's $140 as opposed to, I think it's $90 if you don't get the kit. And what this does, it already has, it has some connectors already included in the board. So you can just plug in using the wires that are already in the existing one. And the way it works is it works for a specific model of joystick. Because I had a very common, popular model, they made a kit. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to be a tough guy, cowboy, try to save a few dollars. I'm just going to get the kit. But I sure enough still managed to actually do some soldering because I was such a dope that when I was pulling it apart, I managed to cut one of the wires off. So I bought the kit and I still had to solder it anyway.
Well, that's still quite the project. You're very humble about this, but it's not something I could do. And I think for many people, it would be a massive task to take on. So well done.
Well, I do want to say though, I mean, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I maybe I'm coming across a little humble, but I do want to stress that these devices are actually designed to be modular. They're intended to have the parts swapped out. And they're made so if a part breaks, you could swap it out easily. When you buy the stick, there's just 2 or 3 or 4 screws, and then you can open up that whole thing and get access to all the hardware. It's intentionally designed that way, and that's not to say that there's no part of it that's difficult, but it's surprisingly easy to do some of it. Some of it's tough, especially the first time you're doing it, because you don't know how much pressure to apply, and it's easy to break. Well, I don't want to say easy to break, but it's possible to break some of the connectors.
Yeah.
And they're on really hard, so you have to really pull on them to get them off. And
Well, it's confidence again, isn't it? Practice makes perfect. Just on the back of what you've said there, Will, Matt says that's really cool. My latest electronics adventure has been a wireless mod for a joystick, but he's been busy with moving. Maybe Matt, when you get around to doing that, you'd come onto the stream and share that with us. We'd love to see it.
A wireless mod is interesting.
Absolutely.
I don't know what he means. I mean, I do know, but I'm not sure precisely. Does he mean modding it for Bluetooth or modding it for a specific like wireless receiver, like they did in the old days, where you had the 2-piece device, where you had the receiver you had to plug in, and you had the controller. So I'd be interested to know.
Well, Matt, if you can clarify that, that'd be great. Space Drone, while I'm just working down the chat, says cost-effective way to learn electronics is Raspberry Pi, and is this Arduino for drones?
Arduino.
Let me actually share something about that in response to what Space Drone there is saying. I mean, he's right. He's not wrong. Raspberry Pi is a cost-effective thing. I actually don't know much about it though personally, but I just haven't tried it. I've never had the need because I already have at least I used to. I will have again very soon a PC that does all that. But with a Raspberry Pi, it's like a mobile device. Like it's the same chips as you would find something, and it controls a mini computer kind of, and that plays old games using an emulator. But there's newer tech that's much more interesting that I wanted to share with you guys, just tell you about. And it's called a Mister. It's spelled MISTR. And this isn't what I did, but I've been looking into it. And what it is it's a device that emulates all of the old consoles on one device. But the nice thing about it is current things that let you do emulation. What emulation is it's a way of making one device act like another. Like you can make your computer think it's a Nintendo if you use an emulator software. What this device, this Mister device does is the emulation is much more accurate, because when you use emulation software, there's flaws, there's delays, there's issues with it where especially for some of the older games, those small delays can really make it difficult to play them. This new technology is such an accurate emulation, it eliminates all of that. And it's not that expensive either. It's like $200 or something. It's not a crazy amount.
Nice. In response to your question, Matt has replied. First of all, Matt says he would love to. We would love to have this on the show, Matt, so thank you for that. To respond to you, Will, he says it's an ESP32 Bluetooth or Wi-Fi.
Okay, so that's like the modern style where it's a universal type of wireless.
Yeah, I'm a tech boomer. I've got nothing more. Jordan, take over.
I'm not too expert on it. And one other thing I wanted to mention also about the joystick. I'm packing a lot of information in here at once. There's a common standard that they use. I don't know what the name for it is, but if you want to buy an arcade style joystick, if you buy one that uses those standardized size parts, it's very easy to mod or replace it yourself. So it's a very good thing to buy because it'll last forever, because you can keep replacing the individual parts as they break. So it's a good investment, and it also works on all the devices if you put it in this board. So I guess that's almost kind of repeating what Joe said earlier about it being a good investment, because it costs some money up front. It's going to be like $200, depending which model you buy. On average, about $200 for the whole device, the chassis with all the stuff, and then you have to buy the board to replace in that. So it's a bit of an expensive upfront cost, but over time, not having to buy multiple controllers, it will save you money.
It's also a really good project, I think, that you could do with young people in your family, your children or nieces, nephews, cousins, because of the nature of what it is. It would certainly be something that they'd be interested in. And if you could teach them the workings of it, it may even inspire them into some kind of, I don't want to go as far as say engineering, is a bit of a jump, but when you can teach kids to learn how things work, I do think that inspires them to take that forward into other things.
Into robotics.
Well, anything.
And the robot army.
I mean, we've seen drones mentioned in the chat. I mean, drones are amazing. Everyone's a child when it comes to stuff like that. Like the old, radio-controlled airplanes and stuff. Everyone loved that stuff. So, yeah, absolutely. Getting young people involved in these things, finding out how stuff works, how to break it down and rebuild it, I think is going to be a really useful skill for them in the future. And it will teach them the confidence that we are just learning now as old farts. These young kids are going to actually learn and be confident with. By the time they hit their 20s, this stuff isn't going to faze them like it might faze someone trying it for the first time. So it's a really good mindset to instill in children. That, the best way to maintain things is to find out how it works.
I think that's brilliant, Joe. Because I myself, growing up, I learned how to use computers from setting up the computer to play games. If you wanted to play computer games back in the 90s, when I was a kid, you couldn't just put it in the disk and the game would start. You had to go through a command line, and you had to change the settings on the computer. I don't want to get into too much technical detail, but you had to go in and actually edit the settings on the computer itself, or the games would not run. or they
Right.
would not run properly, or they usually would not run at all. And it required a lot of much more than today technical know-how. So if you wanted to just play a game, you had to be a fairly competent computer user, and that was a really positive side effect that I got. And my parents didn't even realize that, but later on, that's part of why I think why they continue to support me doing computer gaming.
Nice. I have a question for you from DJ Mark. Have you seen Tronic Fix, Will?
I have not seen that. Is that a device or a streamer or?
I've no idea. DJ Mark, could you explain what that is, please?
Now I'm just finding a link. That thing there that I saw, he is a YouTuber.
Okay.
By the looks of it, he fixes stuff, electronics, as the name would suggest.
Oh, that reminds me of my one other. Since we're talking about stuff we did, I don't have it with me now, but on YouTube, or maybe it was a different video hosting site, I actually repaired an old piano that I had using information I got on the internet. It was a Japanese video, or no, excuse me, the first one was in English, but then I had a second piano I had to repair. I'm not going to go into detail. I'll save this story for another time. But I had to get a video on it, and the only video I could find was in Japanese, but I was able to understand it because I was just able to watch the video. So using these, watching videos and these video hosting sites are great ways to learn this information. When I did the joystick modification, I watched a video. In fact, Jordan could pull it up. It might not be copyrighted or legal or whatever, but on that link I sent him, there's actually a link in there to a video of a guy installing the kit, and that's what I used to do it myself.
Nice. That's Jordan's method, actually. And again,
Oh, absolutely.
it's a poignant reminder that we each have our own learning methods. Jordan can watch a video and pick something up fairly quickly. For me, it's more of a hands-on approach. If you show me how to do something once or twice, I can do it.
I typically watch something as I'm doing it. I watch something and follow along as I'm doing it, and from that point on, I'm good. I don't need to do it again, or I don't need to watch it again. That's typically how I do things.
But it's down to how your brain is wired. I mean, we just all have different things that inspire us and different things that we respond to, or different. I think the response thing is most important. How you respond to the type of learning you have really does dictate how confident you become and how quickly you pick things up. Yeah, so Mark's just confirming there. He fixes game consoles and joysticks. That sounds like a really good channel. If anyone's interested in things like that, do go and have a look. I don't know who this person is, but it sounds fascinating. But Will has shown once again, this is not about creating things of value necessarily. It is about learning skills. The skills will be of value. What you create can be fun or whimsical or useful. It doesn't matter. It's about learning that skill so you can apply it to other things. And what you've done there, Will, is amazing.
I wanted to share. I actually just sent Jordan one more picture. It's the only one I was trying to find my profile picture, and this one's perfect. It's got the extra information on there even. But that's the joystick, what it looks like on the surface.
Ooh.
And you could, yep. And that's what I was.
That looks very swanky.
I've been using it as my my avatar for a while now because I'm so proud of this joystick. And what I did was I color coded the buttons, so I would know because if you look on there, it's got the symbols for PlayStation because it was originally a PlayStation controller. But but it lets you operate it as an Xbox controller as well. And when I would do that, the buttons wouldn't be labeled. So what I did was I color coded them to match the Xbox buttons.
That looks supremely impressive. I genuinely looking at that picture. That's something you'd buy in a shop.
I thought it was.
Yeah, that's an amazing finish to that.
Oh,
well done.
You could actually find an unmodified original if you want to pull up an original. It's called a Chanba Obsidian, QANBA Obsidian, and you could pull up an original and look at it, and you could see the difference on the one I modified here. And I also modified the joystick itself. I put in if you see that, you see that little collar on it, the thick metal collar.
Yes.
The joystick is actually detachable if you want to store it, because otherwise the joystick always sticks up and it tends to get broken when you move it.
That's truly amazing. Well done.
That's the original. And
That's
that
the
is,
original.
you've improved that out of sight.
Absolutely.
And it's got these cool blue lights on the side. It's a really good device. And it uses, like I said, uses all interchangeable parts. Not 100% interchangeable because there's certain ones that won't work in this chassis, certain types of joysticks, but like, the majority of parts will work just fine in here.
That's truly, I'm so impressed. That looks truly amazing. You should be very proud of yourself.
The one thing though that I realized I have to do though is I love those mirrored buttons that I put in there, the silver buttons, and the two different tones and everything. But I realized that if I want to put a camera on the device as I'm using it, that you could see a reflection of my face in there. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't really use a camera now to show this device as I'm playing it because I wanted to like have a joystick camera. So I'm kind of torn now because I love the look of it, but I don't want to I got to redo those buttons if I want to put a camera on it.
Can't you just get covers for them?
Well, I could change it. I could just change the surface for it. I could do it very easily, but I just love the color of the shiny ones. They look so nice.
They really do. Andrew says, Jordan, when your 3D printer is finished, you could use it to make a small drone. That would be an amazing project.
That would be very interesting.
Yes.
You can actually get light up
certainly is
buttons.
possible.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear either of you then.
Let
Go
Jordan go on.
I was wondering about the 3D printed drone there. That sounds really bloody interesting.
And fun.
It does. I'm trying to see if I can find one.
DJ Mark will, just going back to the gaming thing for a moment, says, my favourite game ever is the Monkey Island games on Amiga. I'm not familiar with those. Anyone in the
Those
chat?
are really cool games. Those were actually released on other platforms as well. They were released in America on DOS, on PC. And it's a adventure game, a graphical adventure where it's almost like a cartoon show. Like an interactive cartoon show is a good way to think of it.
Yeah,
You
cool.
kind of have to solve puzzles and you talk to the characters and they make jokes and it's very nicely done. It was actually made,
Nice.
I want to say, by LucasArts, which was this gaming studio owned by George Lucas and the Star Wars guys, that was disbanded by Disney. Yet another great property that was destroyed by the mouse.
By the mouse. Like Mickey's to blame for it all. Damn you, Mickey.
Mickey is in his business suit. He's on the computer and he's busy, no, cutting this. We're gonna cut this. We're firing these people. He's just going through it with a blacklist.
Oh, Jordan, I like that wasp. I mean, I don't like wasps, but that's amazing.
I don't have a use for this, but I do find it interesting.
Of course you do. Security.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Like it might be a project we get around to eventually. Maybe one thing I do want to cover quickly because I found this rather interesting. On that Raspberry Pi thing, it mentioned. Here we go. Self-hosting Bitwarden on the Raspberry Pi. That's a bloody interesting project. Bitwarden is like LastPass, if I remember rightly. And unlike LastPass, it is free and it is open source and all of that jazz. It's also very, very, very secure.
Yeah,
meets all the same standards as LastPass and Surfshark and various other things like that.
Yeah, security is
being
key.
able to self-host that on a Raspberry Pi, that would be very, very useful, to be honest, because you can see how tiny that little Raspberry Pi they have in the picture is. Imagine being able to carry something like that around with you, and then you turn up at a computer, you forget your password, doesn't matter, you can plug that in, and off and away you go.
Ooh.
You can get your password back.
Well, that's what's great about the Raspberry Pi emulator devices, because you can have all your games on there, and you could just take it with you, and you could have a large amount of everything you want. You just plug it into the television or the monitor, and it's very convenient.
It's a bit like walking around with a key then, and that basically applies to both of those concepts.
Effectively, yes. Ultimately, that's not how this is designed to be used. It's designed to sit at home on your network, and then when you need it, you just connect into your network, and off and away you go.
Yeah,
I
but
wanted to
making it
mention-
mobile would be better, wouldn't it? Surely. Sorry, Will. Carry on.
It certainly could be.
Oh, no,
Certainly
no
for some
problem.
people, it could be.
I just wanted to mention that for one last thing for the joystick modification, because I didn't take it this far, but someone like Jordan probably could or would. You can actually put in all kinds of LED lights inside the device. You can put them in the buttons and in the joystick itself. So
Ooh,
all the
I'm
lights
sold.
up. You can have all these different lights, make it like a real Mexican, cholo style, like those cars, those lowrider cars, with all the lights on them. You can
There we go.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Oh, now
but
we're
it's even
talking.
crazier for the arcade stick. Look up RGB arcade style or fighting stick maybe.
Wow.
All right. Well, you get out so big, but you see the joystick itself, how it lights up in there. Yeah, there you go.
What is it with the tiny pictures?
There you
They're
go. You see
amazing.
that? And you could. That's something that if you really want to take it to the next level, because they don't make kits for that. You have to do that they make partial kits, but you have to do a lot of it yourself. You have to know some actual real electronics because you have to hook up an extra power supply inside.
Now, down with kits. We should make everything ourselves from scratch.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
you gotta,
should.
well, you still buy the parts pre-made, but you have to assemble it the hard way. These LED these little light systems, and I really like that one there too. That it's got the trackball in the middle. You can get that as well if you really want to make a joystick. They also make now joysticks without a stick, because some people they've gotten. I know, right? It sounds dumb. It sounds retarded.
So what's it called? A joy?
I forgot what they call it. They call it like a hot finger or something. Or they call it a hot box or a hit box. Call it a hit box. They should call it like a hot finger. I like that name. So anyway, the hit box, and what they do is it's like it's for people who want to do games. They want to be able to have very consistent and repetitive inputs, like some fighting gamers who've gotten used to it. They've actually won tournaments, and they've talked about banning them because they're pretty terrible if you're playing a game for the first time. But if you played something, 100 hours, 1,000 hours, and it lets you get very consistent inputs every time. There's no
What shape are they then? If they're not sticks, what are they?
It's just got buttons on the surface, like in the shape of a hand, just like 5 buttons. So it's a bunch of buttons, but there's buttons for both hands.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Oh, and Jordan's got one other thing on here. You guys can tell I love this stuff. The flight stick. I don't know about putting lights in these and doing customization, but you can get some really cool stuff. You can build like your own fighter cockpit using the all this kind of stuff they got now, and they have driving ones as well. So you can get like a race car cockpit with a stick throttle and a stick shift. You can
See, aside from the fact these aren't as light and pretty, I actually prefer these because they're kind of old school, like a proper joystick.
Oh, these are great. I love them. They're just only good for certain types of games. That's the thing. You can't control Mario with this, at least not very well. This is strictly for a flight simulator or a spaceship simulator, that kind of thing, or driving.
Elite Dangerous.
There's also pedals you get. So you can use the pedals as well.
I've always been kind of attracted to things like flight sims. I don't know why. I don't like flying.
Maybe because that's as close as you'll ever get.
It may be.
Sorry to interrupt you, fellas. I just want to say good evening to Matt Man and quickly go through some of these comments.
Sure.
Okay, right. So DJ Mark says it's quality. Yeah, LucasArts, I got it on PC here. So Francis says to hell with Disney. Down with the mouse. Let's hashtag down with the mouse. Let's make it trend.
Boys in the mouse.
Yeah. Disco ball keyboard. English Will. Now we're talking. There you go.
They make keyboards though with all kinds of special lights and things. The same way all that stuff they make for these other controllers. There's people who like to use a keyboard, and they have probably even gaudier controllers for keyboard. Those are like the most, because those are the cheapest to build. So they end up being the tackiest and the gaudiest because it's very cheap and easy to make them look ugly.
Thing is, for me, if it's got lights on it, I'll just have it. I'm fascinated. You know my fascination with Christmas. It's all about the lights. It really is. It's just, I find it magical. So anything with lights, I'm so there.
Joe's got that
You
Southern California Mexican style.
You sound more and more like Linus Tech Tips every day, Joe.
Like who?
Linus.
Who?
He's just a man who likes his RGB.
Okay. Okay. I don't know.
Everyone else got it. Everyone else got it. You don't need to. It's okay.
You don't talk about stuff I don't know.
What is it with all these tiny pictures? Bloody hell. Jordan, can you pull up like Mexican lowrider? Because that's what these remind me of. Pull up like South, like California Mexican lowrider. There you go. Like, look at the interior with all the lights and everything. Doesn't that remind you of this?
We don't have a lot of Mexicans here in the UK, Will, so not really reminiscent for us. But we do have a lot of Britons who have all these blue lights and stuff in their cars now. So we're kind of
the man is driving on a settee.
I will say these cars are way over the top. They're rather amazing. And then look, you've got the Mexican flag, and inside the boot, inside the not the boot, the oh my god,
the boot.
That would be great if it wasn't.
Is that
California.
the boot?
That was the boot.
Oh, okay.
That's so you know who's kidnapped you.
That's amazing. Norse Nature says lots of Mexicans coming your way. I'm sure they love spreading out. No, I'm going to say you're wrong. There isn't room. Okay, once we've filled up with the rest of the world, there isn't room for anyone else.
It's not just that, but they're too busy trying to get into LA.
That's true. That is true.
They're far too busy.
And by the way, any Mexicans listening, I think your culture is really cool. I haven't said anything bad, so there you go.
Well,
I think those cars are cool.
Our culture's amazing. It's just the one that we're forced to live with. Roy says it's a trifle gaudy. The Mexican flag in the boot. Mr. 262 says, Gordy, we prefer a Morris Minor with leatherette interior or an old Land Rover. Yes, because
talking of Morris Minors.
That's so English.
Talking of Morris Minors, the other day, a classic car rally drove past, and it was lovely. About 30 or 40 cars went past. I don't think any of them were built post-1970. A lot of them were built around the war. Some of them were built probably around the First World War. There were a lot of bloody old cars.
Wow.
And they looked amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I wanted to share a brilliant idea I had when you brought up the stitched leather. Andrew and I should team up to make a stitched leather joystick.
Ooh.
Stitched leather and wood. We should do that.
Yeah, like the interior of a classic car, like a gear stick. What a good idea.
None of that trashy art, red and green lights. It would actually be easier to make in some ways because you wouldn't have to do those lights. Just make it like wood and leather with some metal, with like some brass or some steel rivets kind of stuff.
What do you think, Andrew? And also, can we say, yes, good evening, Norse Nature. Thank you for joining us. And he says hello to everyone. I'm assuming you're a he. I'm sorry if I've just misgendered you. We don't care about that stuff here. I'm sorry. We just don't care. No, that would be such a good idea. This is the point that we're trying to make from these little ideas, from acorns and all that. And you start to branch out into other ideas. And could we, put two things together and make something amazing? Well, yes, the answer is, of course, we can. And it's just thinking outside the box.
That's what I personally find so interesting about the 3D printer aspect. In and of itself, relatively useless. In order to make little gimmicky things, kind of useful, but that's all they are. They're just gimmicks. In terms of a prototype machine, though, that's bloody useful.
Yes.
Being able to prototype stuff is incredibly, incredibly useful. And now we're going to be able to do it, and we're going to be able to do it cheaply.
And
rather than going to a machining company Exactly. Rather than going to a machining company, paying them God knows how much in order to produce the CAD files and then paying them again to actually mill it out, we're going to be able to produce it. We're going to be able to either do it at scale or do it at full size, and we're going to have something that functions and works. It won't be sturdy for long-term abuse, but in terms of getting the idea down, working out physically where it needs to change, it's going to be perfect.
Absolutely.
It's going to be really bloody good.
A word of caution here from Roy. He says, don't let Andrew display his leather photo collection. Maybe you've seen something none of us have, Roy. Johnster Small. Johnster Small, what a great name, says the Austin Allegro. A national embarrassment. I don't know. We've seen worse. I think. Maybe. Adam agrees. Andrew, you've got some explaining to do, mister. But these are really good ideas. I hope other people in the chat will take inspiration from this. I know that Will doesn't really come across as very shy, but Will is quite a private person. And it does take a lot of courage to come up and show your projects. So thank you very much for doing that, Will. And I hope that you've inspired other people to do the same. I really, really do. Oh, there you go. Roy says a few of us saw it and we're still in therapy. Yeah, Andrew's definitely got some explaining to do there.
Are these like leather whips and paddles, or am I missing something? Or
I dread to think. The only thing I've seen is that pouch.
If you want some therapy, give me a minute and I can draw something up.
Oh, no, please. No more drawing.
1 minute, we can do this on screen. We can end on this and like a truly horrific thing.
Oh, before you do, because if you want to end on that, I need to do something first. To remind everyone, if you are already on Telegram, or if you're considering joining Telegram, we have a chat on Telegram. There is, if anyone is familiar with it, we've got the broadcast chat, which is where we post things just for you to read. And we've also got the chat where you can actually give feedback and post things. And so if you would like either of those addresses, let us know. We'll pop them in the chat. But if we can get some of you over to Telegram, obviously then it's another way that we can keep people updated. And yes, just wanted to let you know that. Right, okay. Here comes the drawing. I use that term loosely. Let's see what happens.
What are you laughing at?
Is this a quiz? Are we supposed to guess what it is?
What do you mean is it a quiz?
What is
Not
it?
a quiz. This is art, I tell you. Art.
What is it supposed to? Was it a very large fork? It's a
I think
person.
I see what it's supposed to be.
Oh, it's a person with a really square head.
No, it's not a square. Leave it alone. This side.
Looks like the person's a little too big for the paper. It looks like they're a little too tall.
No, what's is perspective, isn't it? You're sitting down below.
Is that someone's neck? What if they got a tumour? What is that lump?
It's me trying to draw.
Wow.
I'm laughing.
Yes,
I want to say I'm really enthralled with the idea of the wood and leather grain and metal metal riveting joystick. I think that would be the coolest, most poshest thing in the world. I would love it.
I agree. Andrew's back now. Hasn't answered any of those questions though. So
Yeah,
the Tony Hart thing. Do 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 do. Is that the right one? By the way, I just guessed that one. Was that the Tony Hart theme, everyone? Can the chat tell me?
I think it was.
I think we got ET going here. Is that what this is, Jordan? Is this ET or a robot?
It's ET wearing a suit.
And where's the phone? Where's the phone?
One minute.
Hang on now, Mr. 262. Come on. It's Joe's Loaf in its final form. I don't, that's not fair. Come on.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I tell you now, having done this, I don't ever know why I got a D or an F in art. This is going wonderfully. Look at this. Oh, holy Christ.
Oh, no.
That's why.
Don't do that.
You just broke my eyes. What are you doing?
I'm not surprised.
I wanted to say,
Oh, no.
Joe's bread was delicious.
Was that before and after the invasion of Britain?
You got some little boots going on here now. All is good.
Oh, what is
They're
up?
coming along.
What
Wonders, I tell you.
has it been eaten by a
Wonders.
zombie? Why is there a chunk missing from its shoulder?
Because that's where I was laughing.
Is that the bit you've put on its neck? Is that you've just moved a part?
That's the bit
He's
from
ripped
where
his
I
shirt.
was laughing.
Ripped his coat.
There you go. Oh no, it went worse.
Trans. Beautiful.
Oh, those are two words I never thought I'd hear from you, Will. I think you just give me a great idea. I think we should have an MS Paint, no stylus, an MS Paint
Whoa.
mouse only drawing competition live on the stream.
No.
Oh, come on, it'd be amazing.
Did you just see mine? I don't think a bloody mouse.
Yeah,
would
you're
help.
banned. You're banned. Just everyone but Jordan can take part. I have to say, you know what? I'm going to say fair play to you. That was not bad for the time that you had.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
That's as close to a compliment as you're going to get for that, because that was a monstrosity, like Frankenstein on steroids. There you go, Roy's in. Woohoo! This is it. We have the makings of a crazy show.
Frankenstein on steroids.
That's the hero we don't deserve.
I saw Frankenstein versus Godzilla, or Frankenstein versus King Kong, or something. It was really an amazing piece of film.
Oh, that was so good. Okay, so yes, there you go. So if you have a project that you are considering, please don't be shy. We're not here to judge and mock each other, although we do judge and mock each other. But it's all in a nice, friendly way. You know, none of us mean it. We're here to lift each other up and boost
In a
each other's
jestful way.
confidence. As I say, competence. I don't know if that's going to
my
work.
competence isn't doing anything.
Oh, that's great. My stepdad's not mean, so this is why we doodle. So yes, if you have a project, we would truly love to see it. Because when people work hard and they produce something, whether it's for fun or something useful, fair play to you. We want to showcase it. We want to show everyone what you're capable of, and boost your confidence and make you feel good about it. You've done something productive and useful and worthy. So Mr. 262 says, I'm considering therapy as a long-term project after this stream. We don't believe you. You love it. People don't come here for serious stuff. They come here to be entertained and to have some fun and to feel good, I hope.
So we've had a good impact on him, is what he said.
Yeah, well, come on. If you don't need therapy after the last year and a half, then you're in a good place, aren't you? We have more power than COVID. Who knew? That's amazing.
There's no bats for this, baby.
No, you can't get immunized against this. You know, we have spent months and months and months honing this. This is deliberate what we do. All these amazingly professional intros. We've worked really hard to make that happen.
You have to work hard to make them that bad sometimes.
Well, that's true. It takes a lot of effort to get it wrong so often, you know. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. We're not quite yet at the stage of ordering the parts because Jordan is still designing the machine. But we do want to get you all involved. If you want to contribute, you can via Subscribestar. This is purely for this project. If you want to contribute in the chat, please keep those suggestions and observations coming. We truly are doing something from scratch here, and we do really appreciate your input. Just think things like dropping links and just great suggestions. We really do take it on board. Jordan goes and does all the research. It's actually helpful. So thank you very much for that.
Very much so.
Thank you, Will. I'm totally blown away by your project. It goes to show, doesn't it, that the power of a visualized version of it. When you described it before, it was kind of because I couldn't see it. I was still impressed that you'd done it, but actually to see it, it just blew my mind. It looks so good.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. I'm glad. And it took me a while, especially when I cut that wire. Because when I first cut it, I tried to buy a replacement wire, and I couldn't find one. Only then did I say, I'm going to just try soldering it together myself. So it was a heck of a job.
Really well done to you. And I'm absolutely confident we'll be saying the same to Jordan when this 3D printer is underway and getting close to completion. And as we said,
I'm hoping.
oh, go on.
So I'm hoping that by the end of this week, so that by Tuesday, I will actually have it finalised in terms of the frame and all of that stuff. In terms of the electronics, that's an interesting thing we're going to cover down the line.
Yeah, so going through all these processes before you put together a final sort of shopping list is really important so that we understand exactly what's involved, working out a timeline. Jordan has already said that, as you can imagine, he can't just do this on the Make Do Amend stream because it would be once a fortnight and it would take him about 3 years to build this printer.
It would take a while.
So he's going to hopefully have a setup where he's streaming either a longer separate stream or streaming on a daily or every other day basis. We're not quite sure entirely how that's going to work yet, but of course you will be the first to know when we are.
The way I see it working is the actual build itself, probably live stream, but I'll do that on a different channel. And then I say live stream. I probably wouldn't live stream that. I will put together an actual video of putting it together and all the rest of that jazz, and going from there.
Well.
I think that's the way to go.
I agree with that. Trying to actually do a live stream, assembling something like that can be tough. Whereas, filming it and then putting together highlights might be a lot easier.
Well, especially as we try to keep our streams PG friendly and we have no swearing policy. So probably a good idea. Good old edit. I mean, it'd be okay if you dropped a few F-bombs and, bleeped them out. That would be quite amusing, I suppose. But yes, we will see. Plenty of time to work all these things out. But you guys turning up on these streams and really showing support for this community project means the world to us. And if we don't say it enough, we should. Really means the world to us. So thank you, as always, for your support. Thank you for turning up. Thank you for your support for Will this evening. It's very nerve-wracking to show something you've done. Major props to you, Will. That was truly inspirational. And thank you, everyone, for being so nice about it. Thank you, everyone, for insulting my bread. I will never forget that. And
I liked your bread.
And yes, I will share that recipe if anyone's interested. It's a good loaf of bread. It's never going to compare with something that's designed in a proper setting, but it's good homemade bread, and that's all we need. So yes, loads of people are saying thank you. Well, I know you can't see the chat. Loads of people were saying how impressed they were, thanking you for turning up, thanking you for sharing that. So thank you very much from all of us.
You're very welcome. Thank you, and be blessed. It's an honor as always, and thank you to everyone in the chat. You're a fantastic audience, fantastic friends.
They are. This is such a great community.
I fully agree with that.
I hate to use those words, but this is a safe space. This is a place where people can be themselves.
No,
we don't have to worry about. We don't have to censor ourselves. This is just a place where everyone comes together and lifts each other up.
I wish you
love it.
censored that god awful word.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep YouTube happy for all the other stuff I do that they don't like.
Oh, okay, I see. I understand the game.
Yeah,
safe space, triggered, white privilege.
It's like the good bad good sandwich. You see, have to play the game. Oh, I'm sorry, Johnny. I didn't mean to trigger you. I do apologise.
You've upset everybody.
I'm
anyway, we will be back tomorrow.
Everyone's leaving.
We will be back tomorrow with something.
We will be back tomorrow.
Remember what it is.
Tomorrow we are. The thing with Your Opinion Sucks, which may now become Mock the Woke, we're not quite sure where to apply that, but we're definitely going to, is finding, we found quite a few opinions we agree with, surprisingly, and not that many that we can really rip to pieces. So I think Your Opinion Sucks will be as and when. Okay. But we're definitely going to cover a few more news stories. We've kind of done the ranty thing now, and we're over that because everyone knows what's wrong. We want to start focusing on the good stuff. and the solutions. So we're gonna probably make one of the streams, the Let's Talk About streams, more community-based stuff. So do you know what? Tomorrow is going to be a surprise. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. You have to turn up to find out. There you go. So yeah,
Sounds
thank
good
you
to me.
everyone. Right, so Nick is streaming live on Vile. Damn, I can never remember. Is it Vile.radio? Tash knows. Sir Francis knows. Andrew knows.
I'm 99% sure it is. It
Okay.
could also be vile.news.
I know, I can never remember. I tell you what, it's Vile.radio. There you go.
There we
So
go.
if you want to listen to some great tunes, get over there to Nick and say good evening. Thank you all once again and for the last time. Have a great evening. We'll be back tomorrow 7:30. Thank you again, Will, for joining us. What an absolute star. Take care all.
Bye for now.